Hi, everyone. Hey, this is Tom Davis from Total Sports Recruiting coming through. I had posted out that have some great interviews coming up, and I have been very excited to meet Aaron Cunningham, who runs the Texas High School and travel Facebook page and gives great information out as far as to everybody in Texas. He also works for Hunter Pence Baseball Academy and does a great job. They do a great job down there coaching and developing their kids for the next level. And just wanted to bring him on and introduce him and let him and I have a go of sharing some information in a short amount of time. We're going to try to keep this short so we keep your interest pretty good. But hey, without further ado, Aaron Brook or Aaron Cunningham, take it away, sir.
Hey Tom, appreciate you having me on, man. Excited to be here. Love what you guys have been doing over there, and I think we're kind of like-minded. We're in this to try to help kids and help families navigate a process that is oftentimes extremely confusing and unique. And no, appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about the Facebook page and about Hunter Pence Baseball Academy.
Yeah, so with the Facebook page, we've been doing the academy here in Houston since 2000 and early 2012 or late 2011. Hunter was playing down here with the Astros, and we needed. He really just felt like there was a need for a batting cage, a place for young players to train, along with himself and other pro guys, and so we opened that up. Um, Kind of started really off with just training kids, doing lessons, camps, strength training, arm care, all that kind of stuff. And we had a ton of our clients say, "Hey, you guys need to have some teams." So we started doing the team thing in 2012, and really kind of got into the high school circuit side of things pretty shortly after that, 2013. um, we just saw there was a need for information for people to have people that were connected in the industry to help kind of bridge that gap, get them opportunities, help kind of guide them in this process. And so we've been doing it now for quite a while. And then probably maybe 4 years ago, not too long after COVID, we kind of the Facebook group thing kind of started to really take off as a really amazing information source for people with. I mean, really, you can, if there's something you want to know about in this world, you can probably find a Facebook group that has a ton of wonderful conversation and information in it. And so um some people just said, you guys got to start a Facebook group, and with our academy, we can only have 200-300 players in it. That's kind of our capacity. And so there was kind of we saw just like, well, hey, maybe we can help create conversation and get information out there through these Facebook groups. And so I started it, didn't really have the intention of it getting big. It was more just, hey, this is, a good place for people to maybe follow, where we can get some people in there that are in the industry, that are college coaches, that are on the recruiting world, and some high school coaches, all that kind of stuff, guys like you as well, where you guys really know what you're talking about, and maybe get that information to people in a way where um, they can find it easily. I mean, everybody's got a Facebook, and so this was a great avenue to kind of connect. And so started it out and really just kind of wanted to create a place for conversation. And I do the bulk of the content in there, but for me, it's like I don't I kind of like to post stuff out there so I can get guys like you and others that can kind of tell me I'm wrong, or add more to what I'm saying. And really just give a platform for people that have young players and kids that are kind of coming up in the game, where they can get in and get information without having to wonder, and having to perhaps rely on just one source of information. So, it's turned into a really positive thing. You know, I try to keep the group where the conversations are productive and constructive, and I love disagreement, especially when it's in a professional and constructive way where we can kind of say, hey, let's talk about this topic. You have a lot of people that are very informed and very intelligent that can come in and add to it or disagree, even because again there's more than one way to look at a ton of topics, especially in this realm. And so it's turned into a pretty productive group. We try to keep it not a group that is like, hey, let's complain about umpires, let's complain about tournaments, let's complain about a bunch of stuff. Let's just have discussion and talk about stuff. Let's bring up things. Let's put stuff out there, and try to create an arena where people can kind of look in there and get information, because kind of like we were talking earlier about is most parents and kids that are coming up haven't been in this industry, haven't been around this, and so they don't know, they didn't play baseball, they didn't go through a recruiting process, and they're not able to with their daily lives keep up with this quickly changing landscape of high school and travel ball and college recruiting. And so it's kind of turned into an information area. I love that people comment on it and interact with it, because it would kind of be I don't know if I would have kept doing it if it was just me, like, posting and nobody interacting, because the idea was, let's invite a bunch of people that I know in the industry and people that want to join in the conversation, and let's kind of get this out there so people can kind of really have a much more informed idea of what's going on out there.
Sure. I mean, that's why I do my interview series. It goes through YouTube and all social media, so it'll be on Facebook. And like I said, if you want to share, in fact, I have a pretty good idea. I want to run by you right now and just see what you think about it. And we can talk about. There's so much to talk about baseball wise, and we want to try to keep everything as short, so we could actually basically do this as like an introductory. And if you'd like to come on once a month and we'll have a topic that we're going to talk about, then
Love it.
we could do that once a month. Say, hey, okay, what's your take on velo and command and where everybody's going with it? And I'm sure that you have some great stuff. I have some great stuff. Maybe we can take this into more of going live and having people join us and
Well, that'd be
ask
great.
us questions on there too. I would love to do it because I think that you're the right guy to go along with me to where we could really do a good job and get
Yeah.
some great information out, not only to kids in Texas, but like I do kids all around the country. I came from Pittsburgh a year ago, and I'm going to tell you what, I love Texas. We moved down here for my wife's job, but I'm going to tell you what. I've had some great people like you guys started Hunter Pence. I had a guy down here, Justin Berg, that was a former major league pitcher, and Justin brought me on, and we started working and building and Invictus Analytics, and it's like you said, they're like, hey, you guys got to start a team and all that, and we actually started and said, what do you think about it? And we actually started a 16U fall team that was mostly homeschool kids and everything like that. I'm amazed at the talented homeschool kids that play in Texas. And I was astounded when people were telling me that 13% of Texans are homeschooled. That
Yeah,
is something.
it's incredible, and especially after COVID, there was a lot of players that just stayed home. We had on our 2025 graduate class last year, our shortstop was probably our best player. I mean, he was about as consistent as it got. Really phenomenal athlete. I mean, 6'5" runner, 94 across the infield, could hit the ball out of the park. I mean, he's phenomenal. And he after COVID, he had a sister that had a very vulnerable condition to where if he brought something home to the house and she got sick, that it could be very terminal, cost her life even. And so he ended up homeschooling, and he plays for a homeschool team down here in Houston called the Northside Falcons. That's run by a guy named Shelby Thomas. That's a great dude and knows the game. And I think they've won like maybe three homeschool national championships in a row. They go out to Florida every year, and they compete here locally in Houston against mostly the private schools here in town, which are
Sure.
also extremely competitive. And yeah, so and he's not the only one. We've had several kids from that program come over, and most all of them go on to play in college. And I know at least I can speak for myself. Back in the late '90s and early 2000s, um, homeschool. What is it? There's no homeschool team. I've never even heard of that. And now
Sure.
there's several around the Houston area, and they're good. I mean, I want to say the North Side team right now is something like 15-2, and they play nothing but Houston area private schools like
That's good
Wood.
competition.
Yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. They're dang good competition, and so you see it and you kind of say, wow, what a cool atmosphere for those kids, and what a great opportunity. Because and maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember though in the late '90s there being homeschool programs that were out there, and were that if there were, they weren't competitive. Um, and even when I started at Hunter Pinson, we started our high school program 15 years ago. We never had homes. Every player that came to us played high school baseball somewhere, and went to a public or a private school. And now, I think we probably have maybe half a dozen or so kids in our program now that are homeschool players, and they're all good. It's kind of an advantage. They don't have to go to school, so they they can train. They get up in the morning and they do their work, and then they're hitting the weight room and they're out on the field, and it's kind of like, well, shoot, that might be an advantage for some of them. So it's
Well, I
it's
mean,
it's
I
cool.
have a lot of kids come in. I have a lot of kids come into the facility in the morning and get their workout done, and it's sort of a break for them, and they tell me how much it helps them with the rest of the day, and everything like that. And I can tell you, like Pennsylvania, less than 1% of all the students are homeschooled. So if you're homeschooled, like say you would have to you can be homeschooled, but there's no league. You go and play for your high school that's in your district and
Right.
everything like that. So I mean that it's kind of like that. I mean, and I'm like you. I was like my eyes were opened. I mean, we had on this fall team, probably 6 or 7 homeschool kids, and they're playing with the Denton Geyer kids and everything like that. And I mean, it's just like I mean, they're not missing a beat. And
No,
the other thing is, like I said, they come in and they get a ton of work done in the facility, and one-on-one work with you that really helps them, and they're driven kids. I mean,
oh yeah.
one of the one of the questions coaches back up north and around the country will ask me, they're like, okay, now tell us about the Texas kids. Usually I will not work with kids until they're usually about 12 years old, because I'm like, okay, now you can sit there and pay
Right.
attention, do everything. Man, I had kids down here, Aaron, that were 8 and 9 years old that sat there and were like sponges, and they were like on every word that you said, and they're learning how to sit there and you know okay, this is what your swing was on that. Tell me what you were. Okay, I was early, so okay, so what's your self correct and everything else like that. You've seen
Yeah, oh
these
yeah.
pitches, and you start getting them, you know that's more of an advanced thing. And when yeah, I always tell people, I'm like, the kids in Texas are way more fundamental. We have great elite athletes up in Pennsylvania. We got guys that can wing it 95 and everything. But you know what? And I'm going to tell you this too. They're mostly multi-sport athletes. It's you have a great quarterback in Western Pennsylvania. I guarantee you he's playing baseball,
Oh
basketball,
yeah.
everything else like this. And a great recruiting story and all that. When Joe Paterno was at Penn State, Joe Paterno never used to. His assistants would go watch them play football. Joe Paterno go went and watched you wrestle, play basketball, play baseball, and they're
Oh yeah.
like, why are you coming to see him do this?" He goes, "I want to see what type of overall athlete this kid is. I
Oh
know
yeah.
what it takes to be good in all the sports and everything." And this kid, I mean, I can remember Dan Marino playing against him in high school and everything, and people forget. I mean, yeah, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, but he was drafted in the second round by the Royals as a shortstop and that.
Oh
And
yeah.
on the mound, while he could throw hard, he had probably a Burt Blyleven curveball in high school that was like unreal. But I
Wow.
mean,
Yeah.
just the player, man. He's a 6'4",
Guy.
190-pound
Yeah.
kid that throws it 90, 95, 96 across the thing and hits a ton and was an athlete. And he
Yeah.
actually will come out and I mean, he tried to play it, hit and all that, but Johnny Majors wouldn't let him play. So
Yeah. Yeah, there's a kid over at the University of Texas right now. He's a freshman, Jonah Williams. He was from Galveston, Texas. He was 5-star plus safety. Um, but he's just obviously an incredible athlete, and we saw him on the circuit this summer several times, and he's on Coach Schloss's team over there at Texas right now as a baseball player. He's going to be a first round pick in the NFL. But Coach Sark would be out at his baseball games. I mean, Sark, he's got Texas rolling right now. He doesn't need to be out watching high school baseball, but kind of like you're saying, the kid is just a heck of an athlete. He's 94 from the left side on the mound. He's a 6'2" legit on laser runner that can cover it in center field. And it's cool because especially at a school like Texas where they're trying to win national championships in football and in baseball. Um, it's hard to imagine that there'd be such a camaraderie to allow a kid like that to play baseball in the spring, play football in the fall. But yeah, I mean, being an athlete is what all sports require. I think single sport specialization, if it's happening before they're 16 years old, I think that's a mistake. I do get, like, you start getting into your junior year of high school, and your path to playing at the next level is obvious. Okay, yeah, like let's lock in on baseball. But you know all the other sports help baseball happen. Other sports focus on footwork. Well, baseball needs footwork. Other sports need you to be quick twitch and powerful. Baseball needs that. Um, and I think baseball players translate into other sports extremely well. I know that football coaches love baseball players because they've got the ability to high point the ball, and they can there's an adversity to baseball that is rare in other sports. So a baseball kid that goes 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, he's handled that before. Where you get into a football game and you cost your team a touchdown. Hey, it's football's more of a success driven sport. Can you handle screwing up and hurting your team and still being able to go out and play the next play? And so, yeah, I think every sport does a lot to help a well-rounded athlete. And I think if your goals are to play beyond high school, I do think that it's very much an advantage. I know that for me, I played football, basketball, very competitively growing up. I saw my path being a left-handed pitcher as I got a little further into high school, and I kind of went all in on that. But I know that I don't think a lot of the things that I was able to accomplish with myself personally would have happened had I not played football, played basketball, and then let's not forget all the other sports that you're not playing competitively, but out in the yard playing soccer and playing wall ball and, you name it. I mean, it's just athletes need to be well rounded, and I think what you see, I think one of the things I see in Texas that I maybe wish was a little different was I think that there's a lot of people out there telling kids when they're 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, like, hey, like if you're not playing 100 something games a year, like you're going to be falling behind. That's not true. It's just
No.
not. I think I agree totally, man. That athletes translate to every sport, and especially baseball, big time.
Yep. And oh yeah, I can't tell you like you. I mean, I played um baseball, football, and wrestled and all that. And then my senior year, they talked me into coming. I could play basketball in the summer. I'd go. You'd see me out on the basketball courts playing all the time and everything like that. And they're like, "Hey, this is a fourth sport for you. Come play." And yeah, well, I was the sixth man, and you know what? I wasn't one of the big stars in basketball. I mean, hey, I knew my role and everything like that, and I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed being able to say, hey, you know what, it didn't really matter what I'd go into, but the other thing was playing 100 games when we were in high school, we didn't have time off. I mean, you know what, I mean, I was a good wrestler, very good wrestler in Pennsylvania, which meant you were going way into baseball practice time because you're wrestling and regionals and states and everything like that. And I used to come out of the wrestling room and all that, shorts, sleeves, my glove and everything. I'd go get my pen in and everything, and go in. The cages are up. Yeah, I mean, I'm going in and taking my swings and all that before I went home to dinner and everything. And back then it was, oh sure, man, hey, let him go, yeah, let him go and everything like that. And you know I had my arm hurt, which caused my release my elbow. But you were saying about your shoulder 8 years ago, man. I went to Dr. Bradley, huge guy up in that works with the Steelers and all that, and went in because I'm like, wow, my shoulder is really hurting. I'd thrown like 3 hours of BP this one day. And then like I went in, he goes, oh yeah, he goes, you got OPS. And I'm like, OPS, what the heck is that? He goes, old pitcher syndrome. You guys don't know when to sit there and put it down. He goes, Tom, you tore your labrum, you tore your rotator cuff, and I'm gonna have to clean out that whole socket and everything like that. So that was 8 years ago, and hey, I'm like, you don't need to get me back to where I can be that robot and still just
Yeah, yeah,
throw the BP and everything
yeah,
else like that. But
yeah.
you know what? I don't want to keep it long because I don't want people to sit there and take up too much time. I wanted to throw the idea out because I think that you and I have some great information. We think a lot about a lot alike on a lot of things. There's some stuff that we can sit there and debate, and I think that's great for people. It's like you said, you have our groups have people in with varying opinions. Guess what? Every college coach has their own way of doing things too.
Right.
That's why you're like, well, my kid's better than him, and they took this kid. Well, that guy liked the makeup of this kid better than he did your kid. I mean, that's
Mhm.
just get that's college coaches. Some like speed, some like power, some like defense and pitching. You got to go along with exactly finding that place that's
Yeah,
gonna put you in. So I think
100%.
it's I think it's been a great introductory, and like I said, Aaron, you can come. I'd like to do this once a month and have a topic, and we can put it out. Okay, this is what we're going to be talking about on our next interview and everything, and let's just see where it goes from there.
Let's do it,
see
man.
see
I'm in.
see
I'm
what
in.
kind
I
of
love it.
following Yep.
I can talk about this stuff all day, man, and I kind of do. So, I'm absolutely in for it. I think information is power, man, and the more we can educate ourselves, the more we can try to bring light to certain things that people might be interested in knowing about. I think the better, and um, I think the biggest thing in this industry is that I think um, there's a lot of people for some reason that want to gatekeep information. I don't understand it. I think that the more people can know, the better things are going to happen for them. I've seen a lot of bad situations out there with kids that just made bad decisions, but it wasn't because they made a bad decision. They didn't know. And so I think being able to try to shine light on as many different areas as we can is helpful. And like you said, we might not agree. That's totally fine. And like you said, college
Sure.
coaches they're all just like us. They look at all of them, see and believe and think completely differently. It's not like there's this like college coaching group think where, hey, this is how they all think, this is how they all feel, this is how they all look at it. It's not that way at all. It's just like it's just like the Facebook group. I mean, that you could sit 10 college coaches down in a room, and if you make them talk candidly, they're going to disagree with each other all day. So it's kind of it's healthy. I think that it's productive, and I think the more that we can talk about, the more people can kind of start to see, okay, there's this perspective, there's that one. Okay, which one kind of aligns with my values, with what I want, with what my son or daughter wants, and they can start to make more informed decisions, just like everything else in life.
Sure. And if we can sit there and help out in that, I mean, I think it's great and it just came to me right when we were doing it, and I was listening to you talk, and I'm like, I got to get more. I got to get you on here more. You know, between you and I going back and forth. And I'm going to tell you what, I think that we have a ton of information, especially for, like you said, our niche of kids, to where, you know what, it is way harder trying to go through those D2, D3s, NAIs. Because I mean, I tell my kids all the time, okay, you're going to hear from a Nebraska Wesleyan or something. I said, you have no idea who Nebraska Wesleyan is. You got to research them. You have to do this and everything. To whereas, LSU, yeah, I, mean, I sort of know a little bit about them. UCLA, yeah, I know a little, and you have that thing. So yeah, I mean, I talk to my kids about it all the time, and I'm sure that you guys do too. That's why you're successful, and that's why we both been able to sit there and help kids along. But yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to come on this morning. I will be in contact with you, and I'll tell you
Awesome.
what. I'm even going to let you pick the subject here for our next one.
All right. Okay. Hey, no pressure. I like it. Let's do it, man. I'm always into it. And, um, this time of year, obviously, we've got the high school season starting to kind of come to a head with the playoffs here in Texas starting in a few weeks. And then, that'll lead into the travel ball world ramping up in the summer. And so, there's, there's plenty to talk about. There's no doubt about it.
Another thing I'd like to sit there, if you have a player that you'd like to bring on, and we
Yeah.
can sit there
Oh,
and
yeah.
okay, man, tell us about yourself. Hey, we're letting you get some free promotion and everything
Oh,
right here
100%.
that we'll put out. I'll do it with some of mine, with the North Texas Kings and all that, and bring them on,
Sure.
let them go, and
Love
it,
it.
it's only going to help them for being able to sit there and talk and do these things as they're going through the process.
Absolutely, man. Definitely. We got a lot of kids that would love to probably come on and talk and share their experience and kind of where they're at. And yeah, no, that sounds wonderful. We'd love to do it.
All right, you got the next subject and all
All
that,
right.
and
I'll get to work.
everybody. Yep, thank you guys for listening. I'm gonna get this processed and out over social media, and I will talk to you a little bit later. All right, Aaron.
All right, Tom, sounds good, man.
All right.